And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning on KIDO Talk Radio. That's 107.5 FM, 580 AM. And 3 NFL preseason games last night. And as the NFL continues to percolate and get back into the national psyche, what about the protest? Have they continued? Well, apparently they have. Joining us now to discuss the media's impact on these protests, Matt Philbin joining us from the Media Research Center. Matt, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Not bad. Just kind of like a lot of football fans, wondering and hoping one day when the players will just do what they pay them to do, what we pay them to do, and that's play football.
Well, yes, a lot of people are wondering when that'll happen, and it's not going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately, because there's no incentive for them not to do it. At this point, I don't know that I think they're doing this now I think it's really a gesture toward President Trump, and I think it's a gesture toward basically anybody who doesn't want them to do it. I don't know that they care about, the NFL gave them $87 million last year to fund their social justice projects. The NFL has done nothing to stop them. It rescinded its policy. I mean, there's no downside to these guys as long as, as long as enough people are watching.
Well, that's the problem. I think people are, tuning out more and more, and it is having an impact. And now we've got the Colin Kaepernick depositions going on, and the NFL really concerned about this, considering how Donald Trump has played it out.
Yeah, look, Trump is been rather smart about this, and he jumps in from time to time when he thinks it appropriate and gets a little mileage out of it. But what Donald Trump says and does don't matter so much as what the press has done. The press is making this into a far bigger issue than it ought to be. It's because of the sort of monolithic liberalism of sports media in this country. I mean, they are dying for a civil rights moment that they can cover to feel important. And they think that this is it, or this is as close as they're going to get. And so the encouragement that they give the players, making them out to be social justice heroes, and the scorn with which they treat the fans who just want to see a football game is it's breathtaking, really. And, the media chose sides. And it's, again, that's partly keeping the protests afloat.
Right. And I suppose if it genuinely hit them in their wallets, we would see how committed they would be to the protest. It is impacting the NFL. It is impacting the owners. And, whether it's the concussion issue or this issue, people are finding a way to tune out. It hasn't really hit in other sports. And it's interesting that the NBA had a situation with Chris Jackson, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, now in the Big Three. You see, that's what happens, Matt. You have a life, I don't, so I go back to these insane, arcane facts. And the NBA actually put in their deal, their collective bargaining agreement, that you would stand and salute and respect the national anthem. It's sad that you have to put that in a collective bargaining agreement.
It is, but at least they had the wherewithal to do it. The way the NFL is run, I'd be shocked if they put something like that in. Look, Roger Goodell he puts the feck in feckless. These protests have been dealt with as poorly as they possibly could be. There is no downside. Again, like I said, there's no downside to these guys until really, if it really starts biting. If it really starts dawning on them that we are biting the hand that feeds us, then then it'll stop. But until then, nothing. The league has shown no no wherewithal to do it itself. And the owners are, I guess, kind of split on this, from Jerry Jones on the, I guess, the hard right, to, you have like some owners that are going to say they'll pay the fines for guys that kneel during the anthem. So, they can't display any unity on this at all, and it's just a mess.
Indeed. Matt Philbin joining us at the Media Research Center, Media Research Culture Institute, Culture and Business, on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Let's take a look at just some of the other things permeating now. We've been talking about this all week, continue to talk about it. The case of Omarosa.
Yes, the case of Omarosa. The media has is absolutely obsessed over this, although it seems to have sputtered out. Even the outlets that were all over that Fire and Fury book from Michael Wolff, I think it was, or can't remember his name, the one that came out last year that was supposed to destroy Trump. This is the same thing, but this is getting even less traction because she's been a villain on a reality TV show for years. So it's kind of hard to take it very seriously. The networks did their best. They gave her, in the first couple days, over an hour of coverage. And they did their best to play along with her, but she's just not believable. And she's just, she's in these interviews saying, well, it's in my book. You can read it in my book. It's in my book. That doesn't make for a very credible witness, and it's got to be frustrating to the likes of CNN, who spend all their time trying to nail Trump on whatever they can think of.
Well, and not only that, but she's just not a sympathetic character. Now, Matt, I have been a fan of Meet the Press for many, many years. Obviously, it's the longest running show on television. You know, the great Tim Russert and others. I don't know if Chuck Todd needed a shower after he interviewed Omarosa, but on one hand, you got to wonder, the vaunted political director of NBC News, he's relegated to interviewing Omarosa, a person of limited credibility, who just, after she got fired from the White House, went on CBS's reality show Big Brother, and just basically, just because it fits their agenda to get rid of the president. Now, so if you could comment a little bit about that, and I do want to talk about the day without newspapers, the day of the over 300 editorials, forget the Spartans. But first, giving Omarosa such credibility the way NBC did on their platforms, very powerful platforms, as you well know, the Today Show and Meet the Press.
Yep, that's absolutely the case. I have to say, Chuck Todd has relinquished all journalistic credibility. He did that during the Obama administration when he was kind of a poodle, Obama's pet poodle. But I would say NBC, yes, they gave this so much credibility. They gave it. They're looking so much for the idea that Trump might have said something racist. They want this so bad that they don't understand how they are further damaging their brand, further damaging trust in them. I mean, look, most people, you turn on the TV, you see Omarosa, and it's not in a reality show setting. My goodness, get rid of it. People turn the channel immediately. And the other thing is, there was Chris, while we're on NBC, Chris Matthews on MSNBC called this a duel that harks back to Burr Hamilton.
Yeah.
Really? I know he wants to think he's living in important times and stuff, but Burr and Hamilton were two of the most important people in America at that time. I can't even tell you what Omarosa's job in the White House was.
Right.
This is embarrassing, but they are so beyond embarrassment. I really don't think that they have any self-awareness left.
Well, and it seems to me that they take everything that the president does or says personally, and that would be like the referees, taking it personal when someone got a first down or committed a penalty. So,
right.
As we talk about all the time here at 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio, Matt Philbin joining us from the Media Research Center. It plays into this narrative that for a long time, most mainstream American folks did not think, have lost faith in the press representing them. And we see that playing out Thursday, where you have all these editorials condemning the president or disagreeing with him, and the president playing it, see, I told you so, they're against me.
Yeah, this was the dumbest, one of the dumbest political, and it was political. It's all you can really say it was. You have more than 100 newspapers across the country coordinating to all run editorials against the president, against his characterization of the press, his, quote, war on the press. And they are... It's fascinating that they have decided to make themselves out as First Amendment martyrs when all the president is doing is expressing his First Amendment, using his First Amendment freedoms. He doesn't like the press. They don't like him. This isn't the first president in which that's been, but he fights them back, and they don't think that's cricket. You're not allowed to fight back. So they take out this ad and play this victim card, and there is the groupthink that exists in the media right there. This is, we are under threat. Well, no, you're not. The only one I know who's actually harmed a journalist, intimidated a journalist, or used his power against a journalist is the Obama administration against Fox's Jim Rosen.
Yeah, James Rosen. In fact, no one ever brings that up, and we kind of just forget that FISA court and the invasion of his privacy and not been given a chance to give his side of the story.
Yeah, to my knowledge, Trump has not done anything remotely like that. Telling Jim Acosta to shut up is, well, first of all, it's a national duty,
right.
But it's something that that has nothing to do with shutting down free speech, and it's not, it's not oppressing the news media, but they make it out to be, and it's funny because it's so transparent and so pathetic. I mean, this is really what the news industry, what the news media in this country has fallen to. Finally,
do you believe the hype about this blue wave, and even when Republicans win, it's really a win for Democrats?
No, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. They're saying now there's a 75% chance that the Democrats are going to take the House. I mean, that they may. The blue wave is not a thing, though. It is something that they have cooked up in the media. It's talking points from the DNC to the media, and and again, yes, you're right. Even when a Republican wins, it's a win for Democrats. That's the worst wishful thinking I've seen this cycle. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, in the fall, I do think the blue wave is nothing more than DNC talking points and regurgitated on the networks and CNN.
Matt Philbin, we appreciate you. Media Research Center, Business and Culture Institute. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Great talking to you.
All right. Kevin Miller in the morning here. Phone number is 580-5436. 580-KIDO. It is 6:20. Let's go to R&R, who's been very patient. R&R, good morning.
Morning, Kevin. Well, two things. Now that probably the most deserving humans in Idaho, the little ones that are headed back to school, I want to advocate. There are school zones all over, some of them rural, some of them city, some of them just metropolitan. But to quote Liberty Linda, that's not a suggestion, that's a limit. 20 mile an hour in a school zone is a limit. And nobody's in such a hurry, nor hopefully ever should be, nor will be, to blow through a 20 mile an hour school zone, hurrying to get to a minimum wage or even a $20 an hour job. So it's dark 30 and things are just going to keep getting a little darker for a while, and kids are going back to school. So pay attention and protect the little ones. And then I have a for real question about possible opening the voices to some of those incarcerated men or women that want to get on the telephone and advocate that they get out.
Well, I did pick up your package from the Star Merc.
Nice.
And they were very nice about that. Yeah, I've got to talk to my bosses, but we do have your contribution for that.
Okay. Well, the concept is I sure don't want to open it up to criminals and sociopaths, but I'm fairly certain there's some young men or women that would like to get out of the correction facility and have access to their own children and pay child support. So that would be my first priority. And I know from past experience that if you don't have money on a card, you can't use the telephone. So that was what that was about.
Sure.
And then lastly, I have a couple ideas, but I'll be real brief. There is only one Twin Falls and only one Snake River Canyon and only one Boise Airport, but I think we could invite President Trump to come to Idaho, and maybe we could launch Liberal Steve in a jet bike across the Snake River Canyon and fill an arena. Maybe 300,000 people would show up.
That would take a big jet bike for his caboose.
Oh, I don't know, but I'd get on one and he could get on one and see who. I've got enough stones to try and jump the Snake River Canyon.
You do?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And anybody else who wants to try. But and then the other thing is we have access to the edge of Yellowstone Park, and there's so many things in Idaho that Trump could enjoy seeing. So just a thought.
R&R, we love your thoughts here on KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
All right. More coming up next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Gabbard.
Thank you, Larry. Joining us now, perhaps a man who will jump over the Snake River Canyon, Evil Knievel, Liberal Steve.
Yeah, right. R&R's got a loose screw. I should put a leash on you and take you for a walk so you can go potty. Something's bothering you today, son. I don't know what it is, but start off your show at the 6 o'clock hour with Matthew Regis. Is that Regis Stillman's brother? Well, I don't know how else he could have made any money. He's a nutcase. And then to talk about Chuck Todd like that, I mean, if I could walk down the street and say, hey, do you know Chuck Todd on Sunday morning? People say, yeah, he's a news guy. Do you know Matthew, whatever? Oh, no, I don't. Who is he? God, waste of time. Anyway, Trump's new theme song, I'm a loser. Omarosa was offered $15,000 a month after she was fired from the White House. Been all over the news. $15,000 a month by Lara Trump. I guess they wanted her to keep shut up a la. So this is going to go on and on and on. Like I said, all the cards will be laid on the table by mid-September, and we can have a nice walk to the bank. You stay fired up, Miller. Make it happen. You know, like everybody's out there working 3 jobs now. Credit card debt's up to $44,000. That ought to make Terry happy for the millenniums. And everything's going to crash, so I'm sure Terry's excited. Get you on the backside. Fire up.
All right. Our expert on the backside, Liberal Steve. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. All right, David and Nampa, hang on. We will get to you. Awaiting John Decker from the White House. And the folks at Ada County and Star and everywhere else kind of went crazy with this lip sync challenge. I don't know. Sometimes I think less is more. You've got, over 9.5 minutes of this, whether it's an Eagle Star, wherever. And then, again, the Caldwell Police Department doing the same thing. Sometimes I think just one song when you're doing the mega mixes and everything else, I don't think more is better. But then again, I would be a contrarian among many things. Joining us now, John Decker from the White House to your house to the White House from Fox News Radio on KIDO Talk Radio. John, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you doing today? Happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday to you. So, in the big showdown yesterday between the president and the press, did anybody win?
Oh, no. I think they each got in their licks. The president taking to Twitter to criticize the media. He's always distinguished between the media and the fake news media. So I guess you could say he was calling out the fake news media. And the media itself banding together, more than 350 newspapers, large and small across the country, taking out editorials on their editorial page, defending the role of a free press in our society and communities across the country. So I think that each side sort of stated their case yesterday. And in addition to that, you have this contentious relationship that exists between the White House press corps and the president. That's not going away. That's sticking around, that's for sure.
John, when you're in there, is there a time for perspective? I know there are a lot of people that want to have real answers to real questions, and sometimes it just gets, like a page out of the WWE. At least that's some impressions that I have.
I think that's right. There's some days in which, especially early this week with all of the talk about Omarosa, where I feel like I'm sort of living or a bit player in a reality television series. I don't think that's going away anytime soon. That's what President Trump sort of has brought to the White House, this unpredictability. And so, to a certain extent, that's a good thing. I certainly like it in the sense that every day is so different, every hour sometimes is so different. But at the same time, I feel awkward when I'm talking about Omarosa as opposed to talking about North Korea or Iran, some stories that really matter to most Americans.
Well, now I have to hit you with this one, and I think we talked a little bit about this earlier. I love Meet the Press. We can go back to the days of David Brinkley before he went on This Week, Edwin Newman, and Tim Russert, and this long distinction. And then you've got Chuck Todd, who, along with others have fit in that tradition, a political wonk. Watching Chuck break down demographics is fascinating when he's not talking about the University of Miami football. And then you still have that great, venerable program giving that attention to Omarosa. Nothing against Omarosa. I get it. She's the story. If Meet the Press didn't do it or the Today Show didn't do it, somebody else would. But it's just kind of,
that's right.
You go from debating policy with the CIA guy last week to Omarosa.
Yeah, well, that's right. But as you mentioned, Kevin, if Meet the Press didn't book Omarosa, then Face the Nation or This Week would have. She was obviously and continues to promote her new book. And that appearance on Meet the Press, by the way, got them stellar ratings. I think the highest ratings perhaps that Chuck Todd has ever received. So that gives you a sense about how many people were interested in hearing what she had to say and also hearing some of those audio tapes that she played on Meet the Press on Sunday.
Now I'm going to be naive, and I understand it's a ratings business, but when you have those political shows, again, showing my naivete, shouldn't it be above that when you're talking policy? Not a lot of people are going to tune in to hear the intricacies of the Iranian deal, but they will tune in for Omarosa. Anyway, showing my curmudgeon stripes. Anything else that we should be looking out for this weekend? Some downtime for the president, do you think?
Some downtime for the president. He's going to hit the road today. He's going to go out to the Hamptons. He's going to be in West Hampton and Southampton, do some fundraising there. Then he'll travel back to New Jersey, spend the weekend at his golf club there, and then come back to the White House on Sunday. And then I believe on Tuesday he's going to hit the road once again. He's going to go out to West Virginia, a state he's visited quite often. He's going to campaign for the Republican who is the nominee running against Joe Manchin. The president believes that Joe Manchin is vulnerable in the midterm elections. I disagree, even though it's a Democratic state, voted overwhelmingly for President Trump. I think Joe Manchin is going to win that race. But the president, not dissuaded at all, is going to campaign for the Republican nominee in West Virginia. That'll be on Tuesday.
John Decker, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. You have a great weekend.
You too, Kevin. Have a good one. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, our great friend John Decker. All right, David's been very patient. Thank you for waiting. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Hello, David.
Oh, hi, Mo. Yeah, somebody should tell poor Steve there's disagreeing without being disagreeable. But, hey, anyway, I miss the old liars. Remember the old liars? In fact, in about 5 weeks, we'll be at the 6-year anniversary. Can you believe it? It's been 6 years since Susan Rice went on all 5 Sunday shows and lied her hiney off that she thought it was protest when they knew it was a terrorist attack, or Hillary Clinton, the Moriarty of Me Too. By the way, you notice that a lot of Democrats went down and a lot of their piggy banks got broken. We don't hear about Me Too anymore. But, Hollywood, Democrat, remember Harvey Weinstein? He gave a huge chunk of change to Mrs. Clinton. But let me get back to it. People like Sidney Blumenthal or Carville or Stephanopoulos, they knew they were paddling horse hockey, but they did it. Now, I think it's the second rule of Rogers Rangers is don't never lie. You can lie to somebody else, but don't never lie to another Ranger. They are now lying to each other, but I'm a little scared because when their expectations get shattered, how many more? Remember a week after the shooting where 32 Republicans almost got killed? And the reason it wasn't 32 is because the antidote to a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, or 2 good guys and a good gal. Because if Solis' security, who wasn't there, if they weren't there, 32 Republicans would have been murdered. And a week later, somebody went on the internet and went #HuntRepublicans. We're violent, but they're the ones who always commit violence. But this is the thing. They lie to each other now. I think there's a lot of people in Democrat circles. It's like, what's the biggest mistake a drug dealer makes? They use their own product. They're lying to each other now. And I wonder what horrible thing is going to happen when their expectations get shattered. Because, and as for Omarosa getting a $15,000 salary, I think he figured that was worth her being, when they put the Warren Commission, when Johnson said, why are you having him on again? Why are you having J. Edgar Hoover here? And he said, I'd rather have him inside the tent peeing out than outside peeing in. And obviously it's worse. And I'm going to get your show, by the way, because I have a good faith. Somebody told me that they heard a recording of you doing something badly. That's admissible in any court in the land, right?
Well, and that's the problem. And, David, we appreciate you listening here, but let's delve a little deeper. When is it acceptable that if you say something offensive or inappropriate that you lose your job and lose everything? And we're not endorsing, people saying unacceptable things. I mean, we hear the music all the time, and those rappers can say whatever they want, and they get paid millions of dollars. Now, Donald Sterling says something on an illegally recorded phone call. He gets his franchise taken away. You have people recording people without
remember Marge Schatz, who said something stupid?
Right.
She didn't say something bigoted. And by the way, just so you know, one of my last memories of my father, he died 25 years ago, was of him looking for his teeth. Because while he was chained up, a Nazi, a real stormtrooper, we should ask Liberal Steve what a stormtrooper is. Sturmabteilung, the brown shirts dummy. Sorry, I shouldn't call names when somebody can't defend themselves. That's one of my last memories of it. I do not have any love for Nazis, okay? Marge Schatz was dumb when she said Hitler was good in the beginning, but he went nuts, okay? He built a lot of public works, and he murdered a lot of people, okay? So, he built the Autobahn. I'm talking on a cell phone. That's like one of Hitler's grandchildren because it comes off the space program, solid-state technology. I have no love for the Nazis. What she said was stupid, not bad, and there is a difference. But again, remember Jesse Jackson? We haven't asked him about that. Remember Hymietown Jesse? Well, this is how reporters talk, when they're, no. But yeah, they took her franchise, basically. They made her go to re-education camp and took her franchise because they're scared of Jesse Jackson. And by the way, when you stand up to bullies, speaking of Jesse Jackson, some shoe company was shook down by him, and, he said, you should just give us money because a lot of black people buy your shoes. And what's your credit card? What's your bank account? What's your credit line? And they said, hey, you ever heard of Mutual Discovery? What's your credit line? What's your bank account? Boy, he dropped that like a hot potato. So when you stand up to bullies.
Right. Discovery works both ways, yes.
Yeah, so what a bully needs, and I mean this metaphorically, I do not mean it literally, I'm not Antifa. What do they say, bullies? Most bullies are cowards, and what do bullies need? A good, metaphorical punch in the nose. And Donald Trump's been handing out punches in the nose, and they can't stand it. We're supposed to punch you, and you're not supposed to punch back.
And that's what Trump is doing. David, I got to run, but thank you. All right, appreciate it. You're welcome. You're listening to Kevin Miller on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. And one of the things that's buzzing locally is the Ada County Sheriffs have come out with their lip sync challenge on Facebook. And I have to say, I've been going through it, and it's like 9.5 minutes. And if you live in Ada County, they cover just about everything. A lot of Thunder Stadium action in Eagle, I believe. And it's, it's fun to see everybody having a good time. And I have to say, at the end of the video, a very touching tribute to Deputy Ben Johnson, who passed away this year. And it really adds a lot to it, and I didn't see that before. I made my comments before about it being so long, but it is 9.5 minutes. A lot of time, effort, and calories burned going into that video. And this is an example of good community policing. It really is. It's nice to see everyone now. You've had everybody do it, but the city of Boise, and will they do it? Time will tell. Speaking of Boise, a big story that is breaking in the Boise Guardian, also the other paper as well. Apparently, eminent domain is being discussed. Actually, the State Board of Education has approved eminent domain to acquire property for its new baseball stadium. Let me make sure I get my facts straight because, facts are overrated in talk radio. The Idaho State Board of Education approved BSU's request to continue its attempt to acquire property for its new baseball stadium, even if it means using eminent domain to do so, according to Mike Keckler, the State Board of Education, telling the paper. Now, really, is baseball that worth it? Now, again, there are some places, like in the Midwest and others, where being a contrarian really pays off. Here, not so much. It's misinterpreted as being negative, and negative Nellies aren't really tolerated. Okay, I have a bias against baseball. I don't really know or understand the game. I tried to play it as a kid. Maybe that's where my bias comes from. But, using public money to, in fact, throw people out so they can build a baseball stadium for a university whose primary role is education troubles me. Kevin, that's the way of the world. Hey, man, people want to go down and watch baseball on the blue. I don't know about that, but it seems to me, and we see this in bigger cities, and maybe that's why you moved to Idaho, or you've been a native to Idaho. You love it because it's a small state, and in a small state that's big geographically, you can make a difference. Now, in other states, they have big money contractors coming in, forcing people to acquiesce. Laws aren't obeyed, and here you have it. So how would you like it if you're, South Grant Avenue, West Beacon Street, 4-unit apartment complex, apparently a parking lot owned by the Boise Church of Christ. You're going to be told you have to sell your land to build a baseball stadium. You're telling me that there's no place on campus for a baseball stadium? It's not going to be that big. You're telling me that there's an overwhelming need. And look, I support the wrestling program. You know, it's sad and it's troubling. And people go, oh, Kevin, you and your wrestling Trojan horse. Dude, the wrestlers I know are some of the toughest people. There are a few people in life that I won't tangle with. One of them, wrestlers. They're honorable, they have integrity, and they are tough as nails. And, you know, that's going to be a blemish on Dr. Custer's distinguished record, in my opinion. Now, again, people want to get along and get along. They want to be ostracized. They don't want to take a attack negatively, but that's the truth, in my opinion. I don't think that eminent domain should be used to throw anybody out of their homes, especially when it comes to a recreational activity. And now you see the downtown stadium. And look, this is a program that is about the entire Treasure Valley. It's not Boise, right? I feel bad for the people of Boise. It's a beautiful town, but you pay a lot in taxes, and it's congested. And as R&R said, people speed, and you have to pay for parking. You know, yesterday, I had lunch at the, I'll tell you about that in a minute. Let me get the traffic, and let me get to Max before the top of the hour. Quickly, we go to Max. Max, you want to hang on through the news and come back, or do you want to give us...
Sure, I'll hang on.
All right, thank you, Max. Don't want to jip you on the time, so we'll have Max coming up. But back to this baseball stadium, eminent domain, really? And is it worth it? We have all these people coming to Idaho. We have all these people that are very excited. And like I was going to say, I went to Caldwell yesterday for lunch, and one of the great things that I like about parking in Caldwell... free parking. Now, again, you're being a parking snob. No, I'm not. It's free parking. Parking is free. You go to downtown Boise, and I believe even on the weekends you have to pay. You pay. I mean, how many people are really willing to pay for a baseball stadium? And giving people the boot, that's not very sportsmanlike.